Day 38, the Mission District. The Mission District is arguably my favorite neighborhood in San Francisco. It's really hard to pin down my favorite neighborhood because technically I'm from the Excelsior, otherwise known as the Outer Mission, which is exactly what it sounds like. But I grew up in a time in San Francisco when the Mission District was the heart of Latino San Francisco, number one. Number two, we went to church in the Mission District, and because I grew up very religious, we were in and out of the Mission District 4 or 5, like conservatively speaking, 3 or 4 times a week. Secondly, the Mission District is actually the neighborhood that welcomed my mother when she immigrated to from El Salvador to San Francisco, fleeing a civil war when she was 18. So as she puts it, San Francisco and the United States have been her home longer than the home she had in El Salvador. But that's neither here nor there. So the Mission District is also one of San Francisco's oldest neighborhoods. So the Gold Rush really makes people think that, oh my God, there was nothing else going on inland. It was, all of those white men down at the south or down at the wharf, right? Down at the ocean that were searching for gold. No, we actually had Native Americans. We had indigenous Americans. Who do you think built the missionary? I mean, who do you think built the mission? Who do you think the missionaries enslaved? Not the white people. Anyway, so the Mission District, I'm pretty sure, is named after the Mission, which is named after a creek, the Lady of Our Sorrows, that Dolores, that means sorrow, that means pain. And that's where a lot of that naming comes from. But just to give you a sense of how much San Francisco geography has changed, I've talked about this in other videos, but Folsom Street, one of the main strips in the Mission that runs all the way downtown, that's more or less a residential street, but not entirely. So one reason why that street is so wide is because it used to be the west bank of the Mission Creek. The Mission Creek runs all the way from Mission Bay, which is, again, not to confuse you guys, but way downtown, and it runs in. If you've been to Dolores Park, I've done tons of videos about Dolores Park, one of my favorite places in the entire world, then you know that Mission High School is across the street from Dolores Park. It's pretty hard to believe that right there where Mission High School is where they used to milk the cows, right? Pretty freaking hard to believe, but that just gives you a sense of not only how much of San Francisco's built on reclaimed landfill, but right smack dab the Mission District as well. So some people will tell you that the oldest street in San Francisco is in the Mission. It slipped my name, what the name of the street is called, but it's right there, right not far from Dolores Park, right there, right not far from like the Women's Building and all that. The oldest cemetery in San Francisco is Mission Dolores Cemetery. As you know, you cannot be buried in San Francisco anymore. I grew up in San Francisco when the Mission District was 90% Latino. It is now closer to like 40%, if even that. So when I first moved back to San Francisco, I had this whole mourning process because the Mission District, again, even though I grew up in the Outer Mission, Excelsior, which is technically a different district, that's more suburbia, right? Anybody will tell you that the culture, the heart of Latino San Francisco, Carnaval, Lover's Lane, is the Mission District. The Dia de los Muertos festivals, etc. So it would be remiss of me to make a video like this about the Mission District without also mentioning Mission Loteria, of which I am the proud events coordinator. We've partnered with 120 and counting small businesses in the Mission District. This year, 2025, we're barely into June as of this recording. We have done almost 50 events almost entirely in the Mission District. So I'm here, and there's still many of us here that are holding it down. And like in most of my videos, I've barely scraped the surface. So come on out to San Francisco and take my Mission District food and culture tour. I would love to welcome you and show you my hood, my neighborhood, my home.